Hi there, and welcome to another interview. Today, I've got the fabulous Julianne with me, and I'm going to ask her the same question I ask absolutely everybody. Hey, Julianne, why did you become carnivore?
Hey, Stephen. Well, great question, of course. Um, so the reason that I became carnivore was I was dieting. I was in a pretty severe caloric deficit because I thought that was the way I needed to lose weight. And it was working, as diets do. But I was starving. I was really, really hungry. And I'm pretty disciplined. I was white knuckling it. But I got to a point where I said, this is not long term sustainable. I can't do this the rest of my life. There is absolutely no way. And I did a lot of research, listened to a lot of YouTube content, read a lot, and I came across carnivore. And I said, these are all the foods that I've denied myself that I've never had, but the results look really good and it looks to be a healthy way and long-term sustainable. And I knew going in that some people do gain weight, which of course I didn't want to do, but I knew that was a possibility and I was somewhat prepared for that because I needed to find a way to eat long term and sustain my health, and also try and sustain, the weight loss as well. So it was a Monday. I had just actually gone shopping that weekend. I had a refrigerator full of vegetables. I mean, I was eating so much plant and vegetables and lean protein, and it was just stocked up. And it was a Monday, and I just said, I'm doing this now, today, right this second. And I did it. And by day three, I was feeling amazing, and I haven't looked back. And actually, today is my 5 month carniversary.
Excellent. Who was the influencers that you saw that made you think I should try this?
I'm trying to think back. The actual first person that I ever saw, and it wasn't a carnivore, was Dr. Prajeep Jamandis. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's the one that I started listening to, and he's the one that I became familiar with Ansel Keys and everything that happened with that, intermittent fasting, so many concepts that I had no idea about. And then from him, that led me to Dr. Robert Lustig, and I started listening to him. Then that bounced me to Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Anthony Chafee, Robert Sywes. For the last 6 months, I think I've pretty much gotten a PhD almost in all of this because I literally listen to content, read studies, read articles every single day to learn more. Nina Teicholz, and it really made sense. And not only, I mean, I was maybe a few pounds from where I wanted to be, and my caloric intake from before was, I know this is going to sound horrible now looking back, it was about 900 to 1200 a day. And keep
Yeah.
in mind, I'm only 5'1", so I'm not a big person to begin with. Um, And once I started eating carnivore and allowing myself the beef, bacon, butter, eggs, my calories jumped to 2000, 2400, sometimes more. And I continue to lose weight. And I was like, what is going on? This is so bizarre. I've never eaten this way in my entire life. Maybe when I was a young child, we were, I was allowed to have, like, steak and things of that nature. But yeah, it was unbelievable. And I'm like, wow, I'm actually feeling satiated. I wasn't feeling that way eating, such a low calories before.
Yeah. And I think one of the things I loved what you said, you lived in a calorie deficit, which worked, and that's in inverted commas sort of thing. It worked, but you were always hungry and it wasn't sustainable. And this is one of the things I'm constantly fighting online is people say, but it works, calorie deficit works. And it's like, yes, it does make you lose weight, but it's not good for you. You're always hungry, always thinking about food. And very often when you stop doing it, you gain the weight back that you lost and some extra. So although you said you're very lean and it worked, there was a point when you were quite a bit heavier, I believe. What happened there? How did that happen?
Well, my whole life I've kind of battled body image. I'm an athlete to begin with. So I was a competitive gymnast when I was younger. Got it in my head when I was a teenager, I needed to lose weight. I don't know, as many girls do, and athletes and gymnasts and so forth. Did I need to lose weight? Absolutely not. Did I start on a diet? I absolutely did. So that's kind of where it began, probably when I was 15, 16 years old. And then it's just been up and down since then. I mean, in my 20s, I think I probably peaked at like 175 pounds. Went on Weight Watchers. I've done all of that stuff. I was a product of the 80s. I was a product of, oh, wait, we have to switch to skim milk, high carbs, and all this stuff. And I bought into all of it. I look back now and I realize where the weight gain came from. All the rice cakes with jelly on them. Oh my God. Like now I'm like, wow, what a glucose spike. I mean, it's a no-brainer why I put weight on. And it was an up and down type of thing. In my later 30s, and I had three kids. I had some issues with that too. And I really think looking back, eating no fat, I had definitely had hormonal issues, and it probably is traced back to nutrition and diet, and the fact that I did not eat meat for decades. I stayed away from fat for decades. I couldn't get pregnant. So I look back, nobody asked about nutrition back then. Who knows if they ask now, but nobody asked about nutrition, what I ate. And, thank God I was able to get pregnant, twins. Then I had another one after that. And then in my 30s, I wasn't happy with my weight again. So again, went to see a nutritionist, went on another diet, started doing Weight Watchers again, counting calories, portion control. It's pretty much been almost my whole life. I've had this insatiable appetite. I've always had to regulate what I've been eating and say, okay, well, I guess that's enough for me. And it's never been, when someone says, well, just eat intuitively. What does that even mean? I don't even know. I can't remember what intuitive means unless I go back to when I was 12. And I don't even remember what that is. So in my 30s was probably the first time when I was somewhat eating better. I actually started training again to be a competitive gymnast as an adult. And I did that for about 6 years. I competed. I ate a little bit better. I was actually a little heavier than I am now, probably about 20 pounds more. But that seemed to, regulate a little bit more, but I was training a lot. And I still couldn't, get beyond a certain point in terms of weight, body fat, that type of thing. I was eating still a lot of bread and carbs and things like that. But again, I was in the gym training probably a good 12, 14 hours a week as an adult. So that I think helped. But once I left and I went back to working in the corporate world again, I was like, well, now what am I going to do? I'm not training as much. It's impossible. The weight's going to probably come back on. And it did pretty quickly. and my appetite increased, and then I started to gain weight. And then it was like a, back and forth type of thing. And then when, the epidemic hit, I thought I was doing well, but apparently I wasn't. And I kind of packed on some weight at that point. I was still working out. I've always worked out. I've always strength trained. And in 2022, in the spring, I finally said, all right, I have to do something. Like, I'm not happy, very unhappy with where I am and how I look. And it's all within me, and it has to be within my control. And I got to figure this thing out. So I started running, and I've always hated running, but then I started actually to like it. And I started running, and I would run probably a good 6 days a week, 3, 5, 6 miles every single, and I started to lose some weight, and then it just plateaued, and I just could not lose anymore. And I'm like, I'm running every day, I'm strength training, and it's not going anywhere. And that's when I started to adjust my diet, nutrition. I've always eaten pretty healthy, although I will admit I would have my cookies at night. I still would limit them, but I did have cookies at night. I would, have my breads and rice and carbohydrates and whatnot. And yes, I thought oatmeal was healthy. I know now it's not. But I would always still eat a lot of vegetables and lean protein.
Lean protein.
And
Yeah, that's very much like my story. I was doing the running and thinking, the thing is, you think you're doing the right things, and then now, looking back, as you are doing, you realize rice cakes and bread and whole grain bread, of course, is not healthy. It's not helpful. And I know you said about cookies at night. This is the thing: you're constantly hungry on carbohydrates, even if you think they're healthy carbohydrates. You want to eat those things. You never get away from those cravings, I think. And running 6 days a week, 6, 7 miles. That is literally my story. And I think that probably did help in some respects. But eventually, like you say, you get a weight loss stall. And then you think, now where? Because I can't do much more. I'm running 6 days a week. I'm doing quite a distance. So when did the penny sort of drop? What actually happened? Did you get to a point where you just couldn't do it anymore and you just thought, right, I really have got to completely change how I think?
so I continued to work out. I continued to run. I continued to alter my diet. And then I decided, well, you know what? Maybe, I know about diet, or I think I do, but I'll consult a nutritionist, which is what I did. I consulted with a nutritionist who's also a doctor of naturopathy. And I thought, well, maybe this person can help me out and get me to where I need to go. And maybe they can give me some insight and guidance. And the advice that I was given, and this is a pretty well-known person, was the prescription was pea protein shakes, protein bars, increase my vegetable intake, stick with the lean proteins. I think maybe the one good piece of advice was I would put some dried fruit on my salads, because I would have a salad every night. And, this person said to not do that anymore, which is pure sugar. So that was good advice. And so I took that advice, and I went from eating a lot of plants and vegetables to even more. Those like big buckets of spinach that come in these giant containers, I would probably put almost half of that into an omelet every single day, just to try to fill up. So it was lots of lean proteins, more vegetables. I had cut out the sugar. So I had completely cut out sugar. I cut out, any sweets and things of that nature. So that was definitely helpful. And then I continued on that path to the point, and I I gradually cut out carbs as well, in terms of breads, rice. Although there were times when I was just starving and I would just eat rice because I'm like, I need something. I'm so hungry. And then the next day, of course, the scale goes up and I'm disappointed. And, and I'm like, wow, I just ruined what I just did. And it was sort of, again, a back and forth. Now, I did lose a lot of weight doing that. And that's when I got to the point, and I did not go back to see that nutritionist. I had one appointment. I did take their advice. I did start drinking those protein shakes. But I also noticed with the protein shakes, I started getting hungrier after. And it actually increased my appetite. And I'm like, why is this happening? And I stopped drinking them because I didn't feel it was helping me. And they really tasted gross.
And did you realize it was the lack of fats? So you weren't really satiated? Ah, okay.
I had no idea until I started carnivore.
So you actually started carnivore before you realized that that was the issue?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Was
that
it's
a
funny.
revelation?
Oh, absolutely. It's funny. I look back. So as a child, I'm 52. So born in 71, I grew up in that space of time when, the food pyramid changed, the government rules changed and whatnot. But when I was younger, my mom would give us steak, whole milk, butter, up until maybe I was about 10. And then I actually remember changing over to skim milk and it tasting not so good. But she used to give us, meat was the main portion. And if we had some sort of a pasta or something, it was small and it was a side dish. When I was 10, my siblings and I took a trip to Texas to go visit my cousins. And when we were served dinner, the dinner was a plate full of pasta with the tiniest little bits of meat. And I remember looking at that and I'm like, this isn't dinner. This is just a side. Where's the meat? Now that family, mostly they were obese. And I look back now and wow, that makes sense. Now that I've been doing what I'm doing, done the research, I eat the fat, I feel satiated. The hunger cues, satiety cues, they're so different.
And what do you weigh now? Because you mentioned you peaked at 175. Where are you now?
I actually got down to 107, which is lower than I've ever been even in high school. So I hover between 109, 110. I definitely have added muscle because I do work out a lot. I feel like on carnivore, you could just keep going and going and going. And there's just no end to working out. And I feel good I'll be honest, every day I wake up in the morning and I work out every single day for probably hour and a half to 2 hours.
Now that's a big change going from one way of eating to carnivore. What were your family and friends like when you said you were going to do this, or did you just do it quietly so they wouldn't give you any hassle about it?
Great question. So my husband was totally fine with it. He didn't care. I mean, he never liked vegetables to begin with. And I would always tell him, you're going to be deficient. You need vegetables. And he would never eat vegetables. So he's a meat and rice person. Pretty much all he eats. He does have his carbs and some of his cookies and whatnot. So he doesn't care. He was fine with it. I think my kids think I'm a little crazy because I would never allow them to eat bacon growing up. First time they ever had bacon was in college, and they were like, wow, my mom deprived me of this. But I mean, I try to instill good eating habits, limit the sugar and things of that nature when the kids were growing up with what I knew or what I thought was best. And if I knew now, or if I knew then what I know now, I could have done better with them, but hopefully, they will also learn that fat is good, and it's not, don't fear the fat, as Dr. Ben Beckman says, right? Don't fear the fat. It's actually really good for you and you need it.
Yes. I think what you just said there, if I knew then what I know now, is virtually in every single interview I've done in one way or another. I feel it virtually every day. I look back and I think, wow, I missed out. And if I'd have eaten properly, my teeth would be better, and my fitness would be even better. But I mean, you're 52. You said you look fantastic. Quite a few people say I'm 59 and don't look it. I think you can change your life at any point, and Carnivore seems to have that. It seems to reverse people's age. Did you mentioned you had some issues with hormones? Did you have any conditions that have since gone since you've been carnivore?
Trying to think. I don't think so. So yes, I had issues with hormones. I virtually never got a cycle my whole life. And I know it sounds bizarre to many people, but that pretty much, yeah, I just never did. And I'm like, all right, I know I'm not going to get pregnant. How am I supposed to get pregnant if I don't ever have a cycle? So I did have to do fertility. And then after the twins, I somehow got pregnant. Always wanted three. So it was such a blessing. And I was very, very lucky and very fortunate that happened. And then in my early 30s, I was like, all right, there's something wrong with me. I don't know what it is. And I did go on bioidenticals, bioidentical hormones, and I've been on them since. They definitely helped me. I know that there's controversy out there with some people, but for me personally, I feel like they've helped. I mean, I've been on them now almost 20 years, and they did, help to balance out my hormones again. And I mean, I've been a fan of them. I am on a thyroid hormone. I'm hoping to go off of it. We'll see what happens with that for a little bit of low. It's like the lowest dose for thyroid. But it's early days. I still feel like there's healing that my body probably needs to do, since it's 5 months of carnivore, but prior to that was very, very low carbohydrate.
How long was you low carb then?
I would say at this point, it's been a little over a year. Maybe 14, 15 months of being very low carb and just eating vegetables.
So you went carnivore. Did you have any transition issues, or was it smooth and plain sailing?
Oh no, it was definitely not smooth. It was pretty good. I mean, I didn't have huge sugar withdrawals or anything of that nature because I was already off the sugar. I think I had oxalate dumping though. All of a sudden, week 2, I had this terrible rash on my calves that was so itchy for about a week, and then it disappeared. And the week after that, I got shingles. And I caught it early, and went to the doctor really early to put me on an antiviral. And I'm like, I think this might be oxalate dumping, because they say shingles comes if you're under stress. And I was not under stress. I'm a pretty chill, relaxed person. And my life is fantastic. And everything was going great. There was no reason. So I actually had a conversation over Instagram with Sally K. Norton about that. And she does agree. She does think that it likely was, from the oxalates. And I did find a couple articles online. There's not a lot that say that it's actually a good thing if you do get shingles, because it's the body's way of letting the oxalates out of your body. Yeah, but that wasn't pleasant. And that lasted a good 3 weeks. I did not miss a day of work. It was pretty painful, but I carried on, and I work from home, so I was able to continue and keep doing whatever I needed to do. And outside of that, there are times when I think, I'll get a craving still for sugar or whatnot. Yesterday was Thanksgiving, and we went to a big family get together, and there were lots of goodies there. But I stayed the course. I already let them know I was bringing my own ribeye, and a couple people asked me to bring an extra ribeye, which I did. And that's what I ate. I just ate my ribeye, and that's all I had, that and water. And all I did was observe everyone else, all the sugar and all the carbohydrates that they were taking in. And
Wow.
that was hard to watch.
Mm. But of course, you've woken up and you feel good.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. I've woken up. Absolutely. Wow, that's fantastic.
Mm.
That's what
Yes.
it feels like.
Yeah. And I think that's what, the more you do this, especially when you go out and you see people in the restaurant or around and you see what they're eating, it's very disheartening, especially when you look at them, because you think, wow, they look pretty poorly, they're a bit overweight, and they're just making things worse. So I'm going to ask you, you're very early into this, but you feel like you've had some really good results. Do you want to tell everybody about Carnivore, or are you one of those people that just keeps it to themselves? How do you react to other people?
Oh, I love talking about it. I My husband's probably tired of me talking about it, not even probably. I actually convinced him to do a 30-day challenge, and he did. Now, he's not someone that needs to lose weight or had any issues really, I don't think, with consuming too much or anything of that nature. But he did 30 days. He stuck to it. He was super cranky the first 2 weeks because I think he was having withdrawal symptoms. Then after he kind of settled in, but he was really happy to go back to his carbohydrates after. But he lost 15 pounds in 30 days that he did not need to lose. But yeah, he did. He lost a pretty good amount of weight. Um, but yes, I like to tell everybody about it. And it is one of the things I struggle with is people who don't want to hear about it. I have people in my life who struggle with their weight and they're not happy, but they don't do anything about it. And I feel like this is so easy and so delicious and satiating. And it's amazing that you can eat so much and feel so good. And the result is you're healthy and you lose weight. And I have friends that are, pre-diabetic and who visibly have issues and just they listen to me, but they don't want to do anything about it. They think this way of eating is extreme. And I'm like, well, eating all the carbohydrates and the cookies and the pasta and all that's not extreme. And I eat beef, bacon, eggs, butter, basic.
Yes, it's very
So
basic food. Yes, it's like you say, delicious. It's easy, satiating. Your husband lost 15 pounds in 30 days. It's amazing, isn't it? So people always ask me, if I forget this question, you didn't ask, does she eat twice a day, 3 times a day, once a day? So let's do some housekeeping. What does your day look like when it comes to eating?
I generally eat twice a day. I have done once a day, but that's only by fluke. But I'm pretty hungry twice a day. And if I get hungry in between, I might have a snack. Or if I get a craving, I will take a slice of butter and eat butter. I've eaten a stick a day of butter. Um, but in my mind, if I'm not eating carbs, then it's a win. And I've been strict. I do have coffee. I do love my coffee in the morning. And then I'll have I'll wait until I'm hungry, have a meal, and then have a meal, for dinner after that. And but salt, no spices. Um, yeah, it's been amazing. I definitely feel like my anxiety, any anxiety that I used to have, is definitely lower. I'm calmer. Mental clarity is absolutely better. Focus is better. Um, the thinking, again, I love, I've always worked out, but I really enjoy working out now more than ever before. And the only reason I stop is because I have to get to work or I'm just getting bored of what I'm doing. But I'm hardly ever sore. It's very rare.
And
And my strength gains have been amazing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, because looking at your Instagram, and there'll be a link to your Instagram for people to check this out. Some of the things you do, you're very fit. Do you feel that your performance is better this way of eating?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I actually stopped running. I started sprinting. Uh, Thank you, Dr. Sean Amara. I started sprinting after listening to him and all the great benefits and whatnot. And I stopped running as much. But if I do start running again, it's almost like where I've left off. And I haven't run in months, but then I'll start running again, and my times are really good. And I don't know where that comes from, because normally if you stop doing something, then you have to like reacclimate yourself and your body and your lungs and things of that nature. And I don't start running again. And I'm like picking up right where I left off. My time is good. My breathing is good. Um, so the cardio, I really have not done as much. I do a lot of strength training because I enjoy it, not because I feel like it's an avenue to lose weight or anything of that nature. I just enjoy it. It's more for mental health than anything else. And then the result is, I'm getting good muscles and tone, and it'll help for longevity and things of that nature.
Now, it says on your Instagram that you're a coach. So how long have you been coaching people?
I've been coaching people now for probably almost the same amount of time, about 6 months. Once I found this way of eating and knew I wanted to share with everybody, I really wanted to share with people that this works. And the whole calories in, calories out, low fat, eat lean, which just keeps going on and on and on, is not the way to go. Yes, short term it might work. It is not long term sustainable. It will not last you, and you will put the weight back on again. And I did not want to come all this way and all the effort and lose the weight to just put it back on again. I was like done with that cycle. And I want to be healthy. It's not healthy to keep going, up and down in your weight. I was pre-diabetic. I had gotten a blood done prior to this, and that scared me. So that was another impetus to do what I'm doing. I need to get healthy for the rest of my life. I want to be around. I want to be around for my kids, my future grandkids, my husband. Like, I want to be around, and I want to be active. I want to still be doing handstands and cartwheels when I'm 90. Seriously. Why not?
Brilliant. That's brilliant. So final question then. If someone's sitting on the fence, they're thinking about carnivore, not quite sure, and they approached you and said, what do you think? What would you say to them?
Absolutely. Go for it. It's a no-brainer. Your life will change. You have to be, there is discipline involved. It's easy, but it's not necessarily easy to do because it's so different than what you have been taught. It's a shift in your whole thinking, in the whole paradigm. Everything that we've been taught. And I think you need a good why. You really need a strong why, because on those days when it's not easy or you're confronted with a situation, I had a work situation where I was at an event with a lot of food, and I had taken burger patties with me to prepare, and I had them in the car. And I didn't eat anything. I said, I don't need to eat. I can socialize. I can, that'll be what I do. Everyone else is eating. It's not easy. But I also knew that I wouldn't feel good if I started to eat some of these foods. So it is easy to do, but you need the support. And that's why I found the carnivore community, the keto community, and all the doctors that are out there as well. I found you as well, Stephen, listening to a lot of your interviews with people and before and after. Very, very inspirational. And it helps. You need the community. You can't do it alone. It's very difficult.
Thank you. That's a nice thing to say. What are the best platforms for people to get you on? The addresses, the links will be in the description, but what do you prefer?
Instagram, Facebook, they can find me there. And, I'm just happy to share information and help people out and help people get healthy and realize that what they were taught is not the truth. And they do need to do some research. They need to find out what has been really going on and what the truth is and how to get healthy and get the support you need. Like anything else, you go to a therapist, you go to the gym, get the support you need, because this is your health. This is long-term health, longevity, happiness. You're not happy about the way you look. It echoes through your whole life.